Welcome to the Recruiting Hogs podcast, part of the HawgBeat podcast network. I'm Mason Choate, joined by HawgBeat recruiting analyst Alex Trader. Today we got a great episode because we've got 2023 three-star cornerback commit Dallas Young committed to the Razorbacks. He comes on the podcast, talks with Alex about his pledge to the Hogs, all that good stuff. You don't want to miss that. As part of this podcast, we get those recruits, those guys that you're looking forward to seeing them in a Razorback uniform. We get to talk to them. You get to listen to that. We're also going to recap the weekend that was last weekend, the visits that came in for the Cincinnati game. We'll look at the marquee matchup that Alex will be honing in on this Friday, and all that here on the Recruiting Hogs podcast. But first, Alex, let's talk about the recruiting weekend. So we know that there are some big-time guys on campus, guys who are already committed, guys who aren't committed. Kind of just overall talk about your takeaways from the Cincinnati visits.
Yeah, so we talked about it last week, but this was a huge weekend for Arkansas on the recruiting trail. You were able to bring in a bunch of commits and be able to further those relationships with the coaches and then with the guys themselves, being able to talk to their classmates. But then you also had a couple of really, really notable targets in town in 2024. Kavion Henderson, TJ Lindsey, Charleston Collins, Walker White, Tevis Metcalf. All those kids were able to be in town and get the game day experience at Arkansas. I think all of them had visited prior, but that game day is something else. And they also were able to be around the coaches. I was able to talk to a couple of them, not all of them at this point, but the main takeaway from the couple that I did talk to, Charleston Collins, TJ Lindsey, was the staff's pitch that, hey, you can be a hometown hero. You can go out there and really put on for the team that you grew up watching. We're building something special here, and you're one of the last pieces that we need in order to get to that level. So, and it's a pitch that's hitting home with these guys. I mean, Charleston Collins and TJ Lindsey both told me that it's something that they're really considering. It's something that when they got that offer and when they're hearing this pitch, they said, of course it means a little bit more because this is the team I grew up around. So it's a pitch that seems to be working for Coach Pittman and this staff, and it's something where if you're able to bring in, I think I said it in the town hall last week or in something else previously, if you're able to get, I think two of the four guys between Charleston Collins, TJ Lindsey, Colin Simmons, and Kavion Henderson, you're happy. And I think Arkansas is in a really good position to land three of those guys at this point.
So as far as the guys that you were able to talk to and just, hear how their visit went, kind of talk through those guys. And then also you talked about the pitch of like the in-state, like you can be a hometown hero, but maybe hit on some more of the pitch that they're giving aside from that, as far as like, this is why you should come to Arkansas and why Arkansas is on the rise.
Yeah, so a lot of what I've heard was that the coaches are really, a big part of why kids are looking at Arkansas. The defensive linemen love Coach Adams. The wide receivers love Coach Guyton. The running backs love Coach Smith. It's really a strong group of assistant coaches that's been put together by Sam Pittman and this staff, and we've seen that, time and time again, that this is a really impressive group. You've got Kendall Briles and Barry Odom, two guys who could be head coaches, in the Power Five right now that are leading the charge on offense and defense. And you've also got coordinators who are really on the up and up. Dominique Bowman, defensive backs love Dominique Bowman. They're very happy with what he's been able to do. So the relationships with the coaches, as well as that ability to for these Arkansas kids to be able to come and do something special at their hometown team is a huge selling point for the staff.
So it seems kind of like off of what you're talking about, and we've heard this from some of the guys, especially the ones who have come on this podcast, like TJ Metcalf, Davion Dozier. It seems to be like a common theme that a big reason for committing to Arkansas is less about the facilities, and it's an SEC program and Fayetteville's a nice town, and it's more about, I like the staff. I like the people that I'm going to be playing for. You talked about the assistants. I mean, we know that Sam Pittman is one of the more likable head coaches out there. So that's sometimes that's kind of odd though. Like I feel like the facilities and the what this player can use to build themselves up is normally an important selling piece too. But it seems like this Arkansas staff is more about let us sell you on us and not on what we have.
Yeah, and what the Arkansas Razorbacks have is equally impressive in my opinion. You've got SEC facilities. Those constantly rated the number one SEC town to live in terms of college towns. So all of that paired with the pitch that, hey, we've got a staff that we think is really, going to help you out, going to develop you, going to be able to understand what you're going through as a college athlete, and then also be able to pull the highest version of you out of your game. You pair that with the fact that this staff really believes that they're close, and they're selling kids on the fact that they're only a couple of pieces away. Uh, they're starting to put themselves in a position to land some of those pieces. So really, it boils down to the fact that Arkansas is on the up and up. For the last couple of years, you couldn't necessarily say that. You're recruiting people, but you're selling people. So that's been a massive part of the pitch, and it continues to be. But now you're also able to levy in the factor that, hey, this is a winning program, and we're very close to where we want to be.
All right. Before we get moving forward, we're gonna hit a couple subscriber questions that you only get if you're a subscriber to HawgBeat.com. You're on that trough message board. But before we do, I want to remind you about our presenting sponsor, and that is MyPerfectFranchise.net. If you're a displaced corporate executive or wanting to put your career in your own hands, you need to call Andy Ledecky. He will help you. He's a longtime Rivals member, so he loves sports. He loves what he does, and he's a franchise veteran. He has multiple franchises and businesses, and he uses his expertise to help others find their American dream. And he does a very, very thorough and free consultation process. Call him to put your life and career in your own hands. It's 100% free. What do you have to lose? If you have that money sitting around, if you want to diversify your portfolio, if you want to become a franchise owner, call Andy Ledecky at 404-973-9901 or email him aLedecky at myperfectfranchise.net. That's ALUEDECKE at myperfectfranchise.net, or visit myperfectfranchise.net. Okay, Alex, this was a question asked on your town hall thread, and if you don't know what the town hall thread is, it's over on the trough message board, but you have to subscribe to HawgBeat.com to get that. So I thought it was interesting. This is from MH Hoover 92. After a big game / electric atmosphere, surely someone's looking to commit, right?
You'd think so. I think you're getting really close to that point where you're going to start to see 2024s filling up. You do have to remember at this point in the class, last year you had, I believe, 2 commits, and you picked up a couple more before Christmas. But this class was pretty much, 4 or 5 kids until after that Christmas break, and then that's when you really saw it start to heat up. So I think you're on watch for a guy like Kavion Henderson in November and Tevis Metcalf here even sooner. But beyond that, it's going to be a little bit before you're starting to see those commitments roll in.
All right. Before we get to your interview with Dallas Young, which you're going to enjoy very much if you're listening to this, Dallas Young committed to the Arkansas Razorbacks out of that 2023 class. He's a cornerback out of Alabama. What is your marquee matchup this week? Where can the people be looking for that?
Honestly, at this point, I'm not completely sure. A lot of the local teams are going to be out. We had a fantastic first week with Bentonville West against Booker T, and last week we had Shiloh Christian against Little Rock Christian, which was,
Alex, we're gonna have to get you some Dayquil or something. Goodness gracious, he said he's dying. All right, I'll just fill in some space here. He watched Walker White. There's video over at the HawgBeat YouTube. Walker White had a heck of a day against Shiloh Christian. Okay.
Yeah. He posted. I'm sorry, everybody. I have been dealing with a sinus infection for the past week and a half, so a little off my game. But Walker White had a 6 touchdown game, 3 passing, 3 rushing, threw for about 180 yards. It's pretty high completion percentage, especially in the first half. Didn't quite look as sharp in the second, but still made plays with his feet as well as with his arms. So that's a major Arkansas quarterback in 2024. I was also able to catch up with him after the game. You can see his highlights and the interview on the HawgBeat YouTube. But he mentioned, that he and Razorback running back commit Braylon Russell are wanting to team up at the next level. That's something they've talked about. They're good friends. They almost played together at Little Rock Christian this year before Russell's waiver got denied. But you've also, so there's that aspect. You've got the legacy aspect of his family all going to Arkansas, and then he also mentioned that he's looking to commit somewhere in either February or March. So that timetable is finally now in place for Walker White. And that's a huge name that Arkansas fans really need to be on the lookout for.
Okay. Well, that wraps up our section of the Recruiting Hogs podcast. Let's get to Dallas Young, 2023 corner commit to the Razorbacks. Here he is.
All right. I know it's been a couple weeks since we had a guest on the Recruiting Hogs podcast, but we're back in a big way with 2023 cornerback commit Dallas Young. Dallas, thank you for coming on for starters. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And you were in town this weekend for Arkansas's 31-24 victory over Cincinnati. Just for starters, I mean, how was the visit?
The visit was overall good. This is the first time I went to the first game for Arkansas. I went to later in the season game. So really I got to see everybody just excited to see football again. And it was two ranked opponents. So it was really just a good game. I love what the defensive line did. Overall that game, I think they played some of the best football. I think that Georgia Tech transfer, he did pretty good. So that's always good as the defensive back to see your D lineman do good because it's going to help you get hits and overthrows and stuff like that.
Outside of the game itself, what were some of the highlights of your time in Fayetteville?
Really, the fans on the way there. That's probably always my favorite part. Just everybody calling the pigs while walking up to the stadium and our bus driver, the person that takes you around, he always has interesting stories to tell you. It could be a different person every time. Everybody got their own different little story about Arkansas game day.
Yeah, and so you mentioned it. You initially committed back in December to a different defensive back coach. You've now been able to see Arkansas a couple of times, meet up with Dominique Bowman a couple of times. Just what's your relationship been like with him?
Oh, it's cool. He's a down to earth guy. He's a real dude. You can just get it from. He's a real dude. I mean, I like him. He knows football. He helped me out. When I was down there, I watched a little film with him and just how he broke down the game of football, which I liked. And just the details, the small details about everything. It's why I like him so much.
I know you didn't initially commit to him, but he's brought in a lot of other elite defensive back talent since he took over as defensive backs coach at Arkansas. What is it about him that draws kids in and makes them want to go play for him?
Details really after the visits I have took and the visit I took again with Arkansas, it's he's really the only coach that has brought up he's bringing up football, you have your defensive back and stuff, but we actually breaking down football, your technique. He helped me fix my press technique, some other tips and how my alignment should be in this and this split and all that type of stuff. So he really the first coach to break down football that much, I would say. And that's what I think all the other defensive backs liked about him as well.
Alabama, you're from Alabama, you go to Gardendale. Not necessarily previously a recruiting hotbed for Arkansas. Didn't have too many kids coming to Fayetteville from Alabama. You kind of started that trend this year, and then now you've seen a lot more come through as well. But what was it about Arkansas that made you want to, initially decide to commit here?
Really, their program was up and coming. I wanted to go somewhere where when I leave, it's because I helped make Arkansas good. It's not because they was already winning. They're winning now, but I just want to take the program to a whole nother level. That's why I was wanting to commit there early. to build my class in state. Like I'm still working on some people like 2024 class, like Kavion Henderson and stuff like that. So me, it was just trying to recruit my class early to build something special.
Yeah, and you mentioned Kavion Henderson there. He's a 2024 kid, a really highly touted prospect. He's in the Rivals 250. Recently included Arkansas in his top schools. Have you been kind of leading the charge in his recruitment, would you say, from a currently committed kid status?
Yeah, like me and him are like brothers, really. Like we work out together. Like I knew Kavion before like we got all like the offers and stuff like that. So we always been close. I always told him like I make his job easier, you make my job easier, because like we both want to go to the NFL, so we want to play together too in college because we know it pushes each other. So that's always a big thing. I really don't try to put too much pressure on him to go to Arkansas. I just every time I go down there, I take him down there. I talk to him a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's his decision. So I want to make that the best for him.
Yeah, you've been there a couple of times with him. You said you've talked about it. Is that something that's really a goal of your guys? Is to be able to play together? And then on top of that, you've got guys like T.J. Metcalf, Tevis Metcalf, Davion Dozier now in the class. What's your
Hmm.
relationship like with all these kids that are coming out of Alabama?
Yeah, we all cool. Like I feel like I started the way to Arkansas because like a lot of people like for us, like you think Arkansas is just nothing there, but once you get to Fayetteville, it's actually a nice place. The nature and just overall the whole spot. Like a lot of people be like, "Dang, I didn't know Arkansas had all this stuff." Like it's really nice there, and everybody get a home vibe from that place. So I really don't like I said, I don't try to peer pressure them to do it anything. I just tell them, "Hey, just go up on a visit there." Because I know they're gonna like it, so I'm just gonna tell you go up on a visit. If they trust me enough to go on a visit, I know I got them at that point.
Gotcha. So you also had, quite a few commitments on the Hill this weekend for that opening weekend. Malachi Singleton was a big one that came all the way from Georgia. Um, how was it being able to interact with all those guys? I know you're on a separate side of the ball from him, but uh, all
They
all
are
all the your classmates being able to be in one place at a time. What was that like?
they're all cool for real, for real. Like we have a little group chat, so we all just continue to talk, like even if we're not there. But like Malachi cool, like everybody really cool. RJ is cool. Like we all clicking together. We all under like the same thing. We want to just win and bring Arkansas like, to be a dominant program.
Um, do you have any plans to? I know it's a kind of a far distance for you to travel for every game, but do you know of any games that you're planning to come back to Fayetteville for this season?
The Arkansas versus Alabama game. It's the next one I'll be at. Then everything after that, I don't know yet, but I know I'll be at that game.
Gotcha. Just could you talk a little bit about what you've seen from Sam Pittman and his staff throughout the entire rebuild? You went from 2-10 back-to-back seasons just a couple of years ago, and now you've got a nationally ranked team going into the second week of the season. Just what do you think about the job he's done, and then what are your expectations for the Hogs this season?
Um, well, really, from me knowing, just talking to the players, it's like the culture. Like they're saying, guys are not really fighting at practice no more. Like everybody's just coming to one as a team. And honestly, I feel like all the coaches are like cool to be around. Like the running back coaches got your back, even though you're not a running back. The wide receiver coach, the D line coach is like more of a family, I think. And everybody's just meshing together under one goal, and that's to win. And everybody's putting like their egos and pride to the side, I feel like. And Coach Pittman is just he's really just he's a great guy to be around. Like just his presence alone would make you want to play for him. I think that's where a lot of players get from him. It's like once I committed and Coach Carter left, I was like, I still don't want to decommit because of Coach Pittman. Like Coach Pittman also was a big reason I stayed committed there. And of course, just I like the school as well. So that was another big reason.
You still
And like
feel
my
comfortable? Oh, I'm sorry.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. And my I really I think if we go 4-0, both of us be 4-0, I think Alabama week, right? So that would be a big game. We beat Bama. I think we'll be change history for real. Like
Well,
I have
that's quite a tall task for the Hogs, but that's a game that a lot of people have circled as a big one.
I think that's
Um,
a program changer.
Does it mean a little bit extra to you, if the Hogs are able to win that one, since it is from a team that's in your state? I don't know if you grew up Auburn or Alabama, but
I grew up a
those seem
Florida
to be,
State fan,
Arkansas's big hurdles at this point.
I feel like we beat Alabama. It'll shock the world, for real, for real. So, I mean, that's a big game. And then after Alabama, we still have a tough schedule. I know we have Texas A&M. We play Texas A&M, Auburn, and LSU. I mean, we have a tough schedule. So, I mean, we're going to play a lot of people, and we're going to be banged up. That's the difference, I feel like, with Cincinnati. It's just physicality. Like, nothing. That's a good team that we played against, but we're just more physical, man, and we're going to win. And that's why I think Arkansas football is starting to that we're going to beat down on you all day, all game long with the run and KJ. And KJ is huge. I'm a defensive back. I play safety. I'm physical, but nobody want to hit that all day. So, I mean, we got a lot of good stuff coming.
You mentioned Kavion. Are there any other guys in Alabama right now? I know you've kind of led the charge for that, but are there any other guys in Alabama that you're looking at as potential people that you think are reasonable and you have the potential to bring them to the hill with you?
Yes, I have one more. He's 2024. I think we're gonna offer him soon. He should already had an offer, I feel like. But Jaden Lewis, I work out with him too, so I'm trying to get him on the hill as well.
Gotcha. Well, there's one more question that I just ask everyone who comes on here, because I think it is important for Razorback fans to be able to kind of get to know what they're going to be getting in you as a player whenever you do come to Arkansas. You're enrolling early, right?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, so I know a lot of this class is midterm. What type of player are Arkansas fans getting when Dallas Young comes to Fayetteville? Who is Dallas Young? What type of kid are they getting? What type of player are they getting? What are you bringing to the table?
I feel like I bring grit to the team. I bring leadership to the team. I'm going to play hard for the state. I mean, y'all don't have an NFL team, so I know y'all look at us as like the pro athletes. So I'm going to make sure not to disappoint. I'm going to change the culture when I leave. When this class leave, you know we changed Arkansas for the long haul.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much again to Dallas Young. If you want to plug your Twitter, go ahead. I want to make sure that everyone's able to be in contact with you, see what you're doing throughout this season. What is your Twitter again?
Young_Dallas4.
Okay, so go follow Dallas over on Twitter. Keep an eye on his Gardendale Rockets this season, doing big things. Keep an eye on him as a player, and we look forward to being able to hopefully catch up with you again on the podcast at some point throughout the season. And then you're coming to Fayetteville early, so throughout spring ball you'll have a chance to look at Dallas before he hits the field next fall.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dallas.
You're welcome.